Thank you very much. I actually took to this. I actually sponsored the motion because I've come to a strong realization that if we fail to destroy narcotic drug addiction will destroy the entity called Nigeria. Because as it is, many of our youths, over 90% of our youths, have taken to drugs addiction. They have taken into narcotic drugs addiction. And we all believe, and we all agree, that the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. If those who should be leaders of tomorrow are already being destroyed today, then you should know that the future of this country is doomed. And that was why I actually sponsored a motion on the floor of the House. It's a very, very disturbing moment for Nigeria, because even almost all the crimes and criminalities, all the criminals, all the transborder criminals, all the cases of suicide, all the cases of savage violence, Fulani herdsmen and farmers clashes, banditry, attacks here and there, attacks everywhere. Many of the attackers confess to drug addiction. And this tells you the gravity, the width of the problems of drug addiction, narcotic drugs addiction in this country. I've actually studied and I've seen that while narcotic drug addiction is rapidly progressing at a geometric progression, the means and strategies of combating them, preventing them, managing them, and even rehabilitating victims are what? Progressing slowly at an arithmetic progression. And this spells doom for Nigeria. Recently, the Chief of Army Staff resorted to spiritual warfare. He made spiritual warfare the focal point, the centerpiece of the war against insurgency. Because according to him, weaponry, armory, sophistry have all failed. In other words, the fight against insurgency in Nigeria has defied all known military strategies. That is the implication. But what governments and those in authority have often been oblivious of is the fact, the bitter truth, that the greatest enabler, the greatest propeller and influencer of all of these crimes and criminalities is narcotic drug addiction. Many of them kill, maim, once they are under the influence. The moment the influence wanes down, you see them confess and wonder why they actually indulge in killings. This tells you the serious problem we are facing in this country. But ironically, and regrettably too, the one and only agency, the NDLEA, that was created and saddled with the responsibility of managing the menace, of curtailing and preventing drug trafficking in this country, has remained a toothless bulldog. And the reason is very simple. The NDLEA has remained or has lived on charity. What it gets as running costs is peanuts. It's not even up to what some people use to feed their dogs annually. The operational vehicles, the sniffer dogs, scanning machines, the canines, and what have you, were all donated by foreign countries to Nigeria. Because the NDLEA remains an agency under the Ministry of Justice. And the personnel cost of NDLEA is 8 billion. personnel cost, salary, all of this, 8 billion. And so the moment the envelope gets to Ministry of Justice, Minister of Justice takes the envelope for the agency NDLEA, hands it over to NDLEA. And having got 8 billion in personnel cost, definitely you should know that the Minister of Justice has other responsibilities. So it finds it difficult to actually rave up what gets to the NDLEA as running cost. And that is why annually you now see NDLEA having as meager as 100 million. The budgetary implication or the budgetary peg for NDLEA, after payment of salaries about 160, 150 million. And because we don't implement our budget even up to 60% in this country, what finally gets to the NDLEA, at times less than 100, at times 30 million, at times 40 million, at times 50 million as running cost. A country that wants to tackle narcotic drug addiction, a country that recognizes the fact that narcotic drug addiction is almost ruining the future of this country, should be more serious to place money to make deliberate budgetary allocation to the NDLEA, to be able to funnel it, to be able to power it, to be able to back and arrest, drug traffickers. For example, if you look at the availability and deployment ratio of vehicle in the country, it is 6 local government to 1 vehicle. That's what the NDLEA has. 6 local governments to 1 vehicle. And if you look at the manpower requirement, the NDLEA since inception, 1989, 30 years down the line, nothing has really changed in terms of personnel structure. What they basically have is basically what they inherited from the Babangida's administration. There were splinter employment here and there, but what they have really, there has not been any nationwide full-fledged recruitment the way they want to embark on now. So you can see, because of that, the availability and deployment ratio of personnel of the NDLEA, very surprising, is 2 personnel to a local government. 2 personnel to a local government. So with this gory picture I've painted to you, how do you think the NDLEA can cope? Can cope. And apart from that, sniffer dog in the whole of Nigeria, as large as we are, Nigeria has just 8 sniffer dogs. 8 sniffer dogs. 8. And even these 8 sniffer dogs were donated by the Germans to Nigeria. So the NDLEA basically has been surviving by charity. It has been living on charity. So the government, all the governments of this country have not taken the NDLEA seriously. The best of time they had was between the IBB and the General Abacha's administrations. So as it is today, the NDLEA is a big irony that the NDLEA that should be well funded to fight, to protect our streets, to protect our youth, is completely underfunded. The only thing they do is just to pay the personnel, and it's very, very, very unfortunate. Don't forget that the NDLEA has the same powers as the powers of the Nigerian police to prosecute. The Act establishing it recognizes it as the Nigerian police. So that is the situation with the NDLEA, and that was why I had to move the motion, because this country is bleeding. Narcotic drug addiction is almost killing this country now, and it is high time that all authorities, the media, civil society, government at all levels, the organs of government, the arms of government, it is high time we stood up to say enough is enough. Let us wage war, concerted war against drug addiction.
Honorable, what do you think is responsible for all of this? Because politics and some other hard drugs. What do you think is responsible for
So many factors. Peer group influence. What these films they watch. What we call cultural imperialism. And of course, self-deletion. Or you want to be high, you want to be high, you want to be high. And again, the quest to make money. Quest to make money is at the heart of it. At the heart of it. You know, so it's a combination of so many factors. But then, crime and criminality is as old as mankind. What matters is the ability of government to rise to the occasion and nip it in the bud. If you can't nip it in the bud, you bring it to the barest minimum. That is what is lacking in Nigeria. A Daniel has come to judgment. That is why a Daniel has come to judgment. There's no country in the world that is completely devoid of drug addiction. But what we are saying is that let us wage a concerted war against drug addiction, against narcotic drug addiction, so that we can bring it to the barest minimum. That's why we are calling on government to properly fund the NDLEA. And then it is our responsibility as members of the National Assembly to actually oversight the NDLEA so that we ensure that corruption doesn't thrive there. Because there's also this problem of corruption there. Do you understand? And again, any moment from now, by the time we are done with this budget, I'm going to be sponsoring a bill that will seek to insulate the NDLEA from the Minister of Justice. I want it to be a quasi-autonomous body in the mode of the CBN, the mode of the FIRS, and what have you, so that they will be very strong. They could get their funding straight, and then I think that is a big way to go.
Yeah, from your submission, you have a